Hi there, and welcome to Welcoming October. The weather is very fitting for this video indeed. Lovely, gloomy, wet, windy day. Autumn is definitely here. So here's what we're working with. Let's start from the top down. I've got this lovely bunting from Emma Bridgewater. Having fun trying to get it around the curtain rail, balancing on a very small stool. But I do love the pattern on this. I think it's absolutely lovely. Simple but very nice, very effective. I just wish the triangles were a little smaller so I could have put it around my desk better rather than up on the top, but we're working with what we've got. So I thought to open up the desk space, I'd move the lamps from being clipped on the edge of the desk to the windowsills that are just above the desk. And so far it seems to be working. It just kind of really just opens it up and doesn't make you feel as claustrophobic when you're working on the desk. I don't know why I didn't do it before, but there we go. Next up, it's time to declutter some of the items I have on my desk, because they're either out of season stuff or stuff I know I'm not going to use until after Christmas, or just stuff. As it does accumulate, as much as I try not to, it does. So first up was sorting out the different B5 folders that I have for my different acrylic stamps and working out what I want to use and what I don't. And then also thinking about placing them in a different area, because I was thinking about putting them on the window, and then I thought to myself, oh, they might get a little bit damp with the weather obviously getting more moist. I said two words there that people hate, sorry. And then just clearing off the little shelving unit that I've got as well, give it a good dust, good clean, and then reorganize the items on there as well. Now that I've cleared off the tabletop and give it a good clean, I decided to get a felt desk mat because this tabletop is one of the cheap IKEA ones and it scratches so easily. Plus I fancied changing up the spring green for a nice sort of light grey. And then also I quite like the texture of this felt mat as well. So we'll see how we get on with that. But so far I'm enjoying it. So next up is putting my little shelving unit back. And of course we've got to spice it up for Halloween. I've got this wreath from Lights for Fun, which is basically just black twigs, kind of. The plasticky, they're not actual wood. But that's what I wanted. I wanted something that I could basically wrap around the edge of the metal bars on the shelving unit, and then they've got lights as well. So once I was happy with the placement of the twigs, I then wrapped around this little ghost in a jar garland that I've got from Lights for Fun as well. I just think they're so cute, and it's not usually the kind of thing that I like, but for some reason I was just drawn to these and I think it works really well with the branches. So now it's a case of putting all my little elements back that I know that I'm going to be using, such as my Neo Colour 2s. Might need to change some of those colours up actually, looking at it now. And then of course my Hirono little figures on there, just to keep me company. I do still love those. I just think they're a wicked little design. And then of course different functionality things that I'll be using. A couple of sneak peeks of what's coming up in my next video as well. Some items. But yeah, I just love having all these things to hand. And of course we've got to find a place for this little guy from the Hobonichi launch. He sits perfectly on there. And I just love how the light sort of bounces off of him from the ghost, plus keeps the ghost company. Look how cute. Yeah, so this is how the shelving unit is looking now that I've finished messing with it. And I do quite enjoy this aesthetic thing. And it's just easy for me to grab stuff as well, rather than having to go look for it or remember that I've got something. So here's just a quick peek of how it looks in the overall picture. Definitely moving those lamps was a good idea. And now I'm just adding a couple of extra little bits. That's a marble coaster from Anthropology. And this is from Anthropology as well. Beautiful smelling bourbon and pumpkin candle. But I love the wooden texture on there. And then this little plate was actually surprisingly from John Lewis. I'm just going to use it as trinket or a candle plate and probably snacks when it comes to actual Halloween. And then this is how it's finally looking. Very pleased with this actually. It just feels so cozy to me. So now I've got a nice cozy, aesthetically pleasing setup. So this is pretty much what I see when I'm just journaling away. However, my summer cover stands out a little bit too much against its backdrop. So I think it's time for me to introduce the second half of my AVAC to the A5 Foggy Plaid. So yeah, I'm still using my own illustrated cover underneath the Our Studio plastic cover, and then it's just going to slot beautifully in this Foggy Plaid. I don't know if anyone else has got the Foggy Plaid, but I just can't stop gushing over it. I just love it so much. My only regret is that I didn't get the A6 size as well, which is now sold out literally everywhere, including Hobonichi. So missed the beat on that one. So yeah, just popping the bookmarks into the monthly calendar and then the daily. And then of course I've got to have my little pendant chain. I love this Hirona one because it's so fitting. A, because of the colour, it fits in with the plaid so well, but because of the little bow, does anybody think it in SS Georgie? Ring any bells, anyone? Who's looking forward to seeing the, I think it's called Return to Dairy, which is the IT TV show on, I'm not sure what it's going to be on in the UK. I'm imagining it's probably going to be Now TV or Sky, but I'm excited to watch that if I can get my hands on it. So yeah, I definitely will be rewatching the Two It movies with Bill Skarsgård this year, definitely. Because I'll be watching it with somebody that's not actually seen them before, so it's going to be interesting to see their reaction. But yeah, here's me just fiddling, trying to get it on as nicely and as beautifully and functionally as possible. And just look at that, isn't that gorgeous? All those different textures and little bits and just trinkets. I just love this. I don't know why I didn't do this way back when. But yeah, it very much works for me and keeps my fingers busy when I need something to fidget with. But yeah, it just looks lovely on the desk as well. Such a poser. Okay, so now we've got our beautiful autumn cover set up and our little aesthetic background. Grab yourself a nice drink or a bevy or a brew, whatever the word is for where you are. This is just Yorkshire tea, which is kind of funny considering I'm in Merseyside, Liverpool. So I don't know what the Scousers think of that, but yeah, nothing beats proper Yorkshire tea. It's just a bit of milk and sugar. So go grab yourself a drink because this might be a while. Let's get cozy and comfy. So let's light the candle as well. I wish you guys could smell how nice this candle is. It's bourbon and pumpkin spice. It can be a little bit strong when it gets going, but then it sort of eases off again. Whether your nose gets used to it or not, I'm not sure. So let me explain to you what I'm going to do with my Hobonichi this month. Usually I use this for memory keeping, commonplacing, bits of ephemera, whatever takes my fancy. I'm recording this last couple of days of September, so that's still relevant for me. I don't have Octobers, but I do have Novembers. You guys have seen this setup if you've watched my cloth and paper video, which I'll leave a link in the cards for, if you want to see how I've done that. So normally I've taken the weeklies out of this book. I just have the calendars and then just chopped out the weeklies. So I've kind of made a mistake in my December calendars disappeared, but that's fine because there's one in the 2026 book, so that's fine. So I've chopped all the weeklies out because I knew I wasn't going to use them, because typically I use my weeklies for time logging to do with content creation and all that sort of stuff. So I've now put that in my B5 workbook, which again, if you're interested in my B5 workbook, I'll leave the link up there in the description for that as well. A lot of self-plugging at the moment. So yeah, I used the weekly. So I kind of lost sort of what I was going to do with the weeklies. So I cut them out, and then I was at a loss of what to do with the weeklies because I just didn't know what to do with them. And the fact them being there, bulking up the planner without being used, was annoying me. So I just cut them out. I hole punched them and stuck them in a binder. And I've just basically started to experiment with how I can use them for 2026. If I was to get a cousin or an AVAC, which I have done. Did that, and then July I didn't use throughout the month because it was just crazy. So I've basically been using the July as basically experiments for different things, see how things work on the paper. So I've been using July as that. Then I got back to using it in August for memory keeping and all that stuff. And then the same for September. I've used it all the way throughout September, apart from obviously these last couple of days. And then we've got our usual monthlies. So instead of me using my Hobonichi for memory keeping and commonplacing all in one place in my dailies, because sometimes there's a bit of packaging that I want to talk about, there's a bit of decoration, it's all intermingled and all a little bit crazy. I do have an indexing system, which is fine, but I think for 2026, what I want to do, let me grab the 2026 book, is for each month, I want to split it into a different commonplace section. So I'll have research about endometriosis, I'll have research about vampire origins and all that sort of stuff, because I want to really deep dive into that or whatever. So each month will be dedicated to a different subject rather than me using it as a daily page. But I like having this layout. I don't know what it is. I can't move away from this layout, because I was thinking about just using a day free book for it or just a plain book. And I'm like, I know that I always come back to these, so let's just try and use one of these for that. And then I'm going to use the weeklies as my daily journaling and memory keeping, which also will take the pressure off a bit, because then it means I've not got to fill a full A5 page every day. It's just this column, and even then I could just stick an image in a little quote or a little doodle or sticker or something, and it doesn't have to be constantly text. So I want to see how that system is going to work. So I'm going to use the month of October to experiment with that, because I know I have a lot of work in October, so I won't be able to keep up with my daily pages as A5s anyway. So if I turn it into a commonplace section now to see how I like the setup, to see if I'm able to do that, and see how it works before I dedicate the entire cousin for that. Or as it means me having to buy another book if I mess it up or I don't like it for whatever reason. So this is a good experiment, a good practice run. Now, as I said, I took the weeklies out. So I have now brought the weeklies back in a little booklet form. As I said, I basically punched them and stuck them in a binder. I've now stuck them back together with some washi tape. This is just literally October's weekly pages. I've left both sides blank because I'm thinking if I fill this, I'm going to then stick it back into my Hobonichi at the beginning. Not at the beginning, maybe use the... No, in fact, actually, how was November's pages looking at the front? Yeah, that works out better. So if I glue this page onto the November cover page, it then continues the October spreads as my daily entries, and then I can use this bit as a cover for my November. So therefore I'm not losing the cover or the separation that I quite like. Because I like having like a title page for the month rather than it just going 31st first. I like that there's that separation. So yeah. So what I've done with this is I've just used a bunch of washi tape that I've got from Notebook Therapy, which you'll see in my next video. I've done unboxing of that and I show it in much more detail, so I'm not going to focus too much on the stickers that I'm using. And all I've done is just covered the September couple of days that were here, and then it starts from October the 1st and goes all the way through, and then I've just basically used one loop of the washi tape and just decorated it with a page. Whether it works or not, I don't know. And then hopefully we're going to fill this up and then see how I feel about using this as a daily entry. And then I've just covered the first couple of days of November up, so it is literally just October's pages on here. So we're going to fill some of that in and then also decorate for October, and then also the calendar for October. So let's take my book out of the cover for now, because obviously I have a lot of gizmos. It's fine to write with, oddly enough, surprisingly. I can write quite fine with all the stuff on, but when I'm placing stickers and things, it makes it difficult. But once the stickers are in, that's fine. But I usually tend to take my journal out of the cover anyway when I'm working on it, especially if it's just like 5 minutes, no. But if it's more than that, I will do. Let's take my pencil board out of there as well. But I'm loving this cloth and paper sort of stuff layered up. I'm loving it. Loving it, loving it, loving it. Okay, so let's start and decorate my calendar. So August looked like that. September, I didn't use for September, oddly enough. I ended up using my digital camera more. So, digital calendar. So I didn't really use that. So, let's get on with using the October one. Now, the Commonplace research that I want to go into, I don't know if you can see that, or if that gives you any hints of what you can just see there. Which, by the way, I'm loving this little paperweight robot. It's keeping everything down for me. It's not exactly windy in here, but, you know, I just like having him there. It kind of actually gives me, it's just twigged in my brain. You know the original robots that the inventor was making at the beginning of Edward Scissorhands? It kind of looks like that, the styling of it. It reminds me of that. I've just realised it's just twigged in my brain. Anyway, back to what I'm doing. So, October is going to be a fun month. It's going to be a Frankenstein obsessed month, because there's a new movie coming out. There's a new illustrated book that I want to get my hands on. I want to read. I have such an itch to reread Frankenstein, so I will be doing that as well. And I want to watch a lot of different movies and stuff that have got Frankenstein in it. Even like the really vague ones like
Van Helsing, because obviously he gives lives to Dracula's babies. I know it's such a cheesy movie, but it has to be done. So I just sort of want to sort of deep dive into the origins of Frankenstein, and also how other movies have sort of like taken bits from Mary Shelley's work and have used them in a very heinous way or a very wonderful way as well. So that's what the Commonplace is going to be like. Commonplace monthly daily spreads is just going to be all about Frankenstein in different adaptations. So I thought we'd keep the entire month of October in a Frankenstein theme, and I've actually renamed October to Ockoberstein. I thought that was quite cool. This is a sticker I've designed for the cover page, for the calendar page here. So I'm going to be sticking that there. So let's get on with decorating the calendar basically. Yep, so these are all stickers that I've designed and sort of put to the right scaling to fit in the grids properly. And also to keep with the colour theme, because the theme, Hobonichi's theme for October is they're like a purple, but it's like a powdered purple. Because they like to keep the colours quite muted, which I don't mind, but I think they could do a better job of doing it. But anyway, so of course I've added green for Frankenstein because it would be wrong not to. I've just I forgot how much this washi tape curls, so let's hopefully I can get it in the correct place. Because it's designed to... Okay, Frank's a little low. Okay, so that's better. And that covers up the original October. So I'm setting up the calendar as basically like his laboratory. So it's got little bits of all sorts of pipes and body parts, as Frankenstein's laboratory would do. So yeah, all goes like that. I've also called this Chapter 10 because obviously Mary Shelley's work originally was a novel. And the month of October is the 10th month of the year. That little bit just wants cutting off a little. So I've gone ahead and redone the monthly numbers in a bit more depth. I've also got some scientific symbols that could be dotted around the place. And then I've got some of these blocks that can block out some of the calendar grids if I don't use them. Then the other thing I wanted to do was have this down there. Then I've also got some shelves that can sit on the bottom of some of the grid boxes. And then I've also done some of the stickers for the days. On Sunday, so they're the day numbers. They're calendar blocks. I've done 2 of those, just in case. I've done another shelf as well, just in case. I've got some hearts because you can't have Frankenstein without a heart. I've then got this big block that I could cover up here, or I think I want to do something else. Yeah. I mean, I could potentially layer those up actually. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, I like that. So the pens that I'll be using for this month are the Uniball one Avocado Green 0.5 and then the Uniball one Midnight Purple 0.5 and then the Sarasa Black as well. So I just want to do some lines. Where's my ruler? Where's my Ula? Ula. There's another reason why I take it out of the book, because drawing lines is not the easiest thing. I should have actually done this grid first before I stuck the stickers down, but oh well. We're here now. So yeah, I just want to thicken it up a little bit. Yeah. I think I want to have a little shelf of all sorts of potions and elixirs to bring Frankenstein to life. Yeah, pop that there. And the other one as well could go. Yeah, on the 28th. So let's see how these numbers are going to look. It'd be good if I had like a them as little dots rather than these strange little squares. But I suppose I can design that better when I get my hands on a Cricut machine. But yeah, I'm actually liking how these are covering up the Hobonichi font, which I like the Hobonichi font, but when I like to do a themed month, I really like to do a themed month. So they're covering it quite well. I just wish that I'd made them round. And my brain's currently going through my list of stuff that I've got with me of like, do I have like a hole punch that's going to be big enough? But no, I know I don't. I am tempted to cover this red sundae up with something because I quite like the grey. The grey and green always goes well together anyway. But I'm just thinking how I can do it. Because I've got some ink with me, which I'll show you in a little while. The other thing I could have done was actually make strips of these kind of numbers. And then maybe had a couple of other icons on there. That would have been quite cool. Hindsight indeed, it's a wonderful thing. But I am actually liking changing up the colour in the front of the numbers, because it is looking quite nice actually, even though the shape's annoying me. And there we go, we've got our little Frankenstein, our little Ockoberstein monthly calendar layout. I'm actually really enjoying this. This is quite nice. And then of course I can use these to black out any days, just to add a bit of extra decoration. In fact, no, I'm going to stick this one here. I quite like that one. Yeah, and then I'm going to leave that blank just in case I need to write any notes or any bits and bobs. I have to say, just hints of the purple, and then let the green overtake as well. So I'm enjoying that. Very nice. So let's move on to what's essentially going to be the dailies. And so I've printed off a bigger sticker there, and then I think I'm going to stick the heart there. Yeah. Yeah. The other thing I want to do with the cover, first of all, is find a scrap piece of paper, is do some stamping. So I've got these lovely acrylic stamps. I have no idea where I've got them from. This key one and this like text one. This one is a Tim Holtz one. And I'm going to be using some Vesper Magic. The colours I'll be using are the Spanish Olive number 59, the Eggplant 63, and the Cloud White 92. I'm going to use... How are we doing this? Yeah, I'm going to pop on some of this on the text. Another reason why I take the book out of the cover is when I'm stamping. I'm going to put some white on the back of it because it'll just lighten that eggplant, because the eggplant is quite dark and the colour for the month of purple is actually quite light. But the other purples that I have in the inking are very violet coloured. So I didn't want to do too much. So down here, pop it on. And I'm going to do the same again along here as well. A bit more ink, the eggplant first. And then the white on the top. And then I have it going off the page about there. So yeah, there we go. I have to leave those to dry for a moment or 10. While I do that, I will wipe the ink off here. Do I want to use the key anywhere? I don't know why, but keys in Gothic sort of themes just go together in my head. Even though I don't think there's any mention of a key in Frankenstein, other than maybe the key to the laboratory. I don't know. But this one, I'm just going to use the eggplant, I think. Oh no, let's use the green. Liking that. I want to wipe too. And then do we want to use a spider web? Yeah, let's just have one little spider web. Just one. In fact, do I want to do it? Do I want to do it? Go on. Do it. Yeah. So then it kind of pulls that page in. Quite like that. So I'll leave that to dry for a few minutes before I stick the stickers on the top. Okay, so I'm convinced that they're dry. So let's pop on this fairly in the center. I'm not going to peel it all off. She says almost peeling it all off. Okay. Oh, I like that. Because I've used my washi sticker paper, the stamps shown through, and I really like that effect. So I need to remember that for next time. So I'll know to put more stamps on underneath. I think best putting the heart. Although, is the heart going to show the text through? Yeah, let's pop the heart on that side because the key's there now. I forgot about that. How cool would it look? Yeah. Okay, let's just pop the heart there. Oh yeah. So the thing I've already done is stuck a sticker here saying Ockoberstein, and then I've sort of like set it up like a dictionary thing where you get like noun, verb or whatever, but this is going to be the meaning, which is basically a Gothic festival of October, tracing the many resurrections of Frankenstein, stitched from novel, cinema, and the myths that will not die. You can tell I'm getting back into my creative writing. Because that's one of the things why I do write so much in my books, is because I'm trying to be very descriptive with my recordings and things, because I just want to get back into being able to write so much. The other thing I've done is printed this alphabet in this lovely text, because I quite like having the first letter of my writing as like a graphic thing. And then it going off into my own handwriting. Okay, so do I want to start my writings here or up there? I think up there, yeah. So I'm going to start with an O because the first word I'm thinking of is going to be October. So I'm basically going to write like a preface of what this month is going to be about, in my intentions. I want to get this relatively straight. Yeah. Just a preference, going a bit deep dive a little bit more than just this, because this is like just a short quick summary of what it's going to be about, but I want to write more of like a manifesto sort of preference, so it's literally set up like a volume within a book sort of thing, if that makes any sense, or if I'm just waffling. See, this is the thing. I can write quite well, even though I'm dyslexic, but my speech sucks. Really does. Because the other thing I'm trying to teach myself with my books is let there be white space. You don't have to fill everything. Because even on the calendar, compared to even August, I think, yeah, I didn't let the edges breathe. Whereas I kind of have, I've broken it up a bit more here, even though that is still quite a lot. I could have gone more minimal, but I'm trying to teach myself. I'm slowly getting there. So I'm going to allow white space to breathe. The other thing that I quite like doing within my text, now this was more set up for me to be able to commonplace in sort of set up as a sort of commonplace where I'd have margins. Where have my margins gone? I've got a margin there. Yeah, my margins have kind of disappeared. Where are they? I'm sure I've got a couple. There we go. Yeah, so I write a little bit that way as well in bits of notes, but I quite like highlighting the text and circling text. So I'll still do that within this book because obviously it's my commonplace. So I'll be copying some text out or some quotes or this, that and the other, and I'll be wanting to circle words, highlight them and write them in the margins. Yeah, I've not figured that out yet. Is do I want to put a margin in? Because for this page, I just want to write here and leave that alone. But then for the going on pages, because I kind of like how I tested a bit in July. Because I quite like this, of how that breaks up. But there's no real margins there, is there? Let's just feel it out, because this is what October's about, is me trying to figure out this commonplace system of how I want to go forward with it. So let's me stop rambling and just start writing.
Okay, so I thought I would actually tell you what I've written here as well, just to give you a little bit more understanding of my writing style and also what I'm intending to do in a bit more depth in this commonplace section. So here goes. October is a month of shadows, when the days contract and the nights grow long. It is a season of thinning veils, of harvest and decline, when the world itself seems to teeter between life and death. It is in this month, with the winds at the windows and the leaves falling in flame, that I turn to Frankenstein. Ockoberstein is my ritual of return, a yearly pilgrimage into the storm-lit world of Mary Shelley's creation. The novel itself was born of dark weather, conjured in a strange summer without a sun, when Byron, Pilodry, and the Shelleys spun tales to pass the thunderous nights. In that gathering, lightning struck, and from it arose a story that has never ceased to haunt us. Each October, I follow its trail anew. I begin with the book itself, a text that is both gothic nightmare and a philosophical meditation, stitched from grief, ambition, and fear. Then I descend into a labyrinth of its many offspring. Silent shadows flickering across the screen, Universal's cathedral horrors, Hammer's scarlet-tinged visions, and the other countless variations that continue to be made. Each adaptation is not merely a retelling, but a mirror of its time, reflecting the fears of its age, be it the plague, science, war, or identity. To keep Ockoberstein is to accept that Frankenstein is no longer only a story. It is a myth, a cultural reverent, a figure who returns in new guises for each generation. The creature changes, Victor changes, the setting and the symbols shift, but the questions endure. What does it mean to create life? What does it mean to be human? And who, in the end, is the true monster? This festival of October is this not one of horror alone, but of reflection. For to study Frankenstein is to study ourselves, our ambitions, our fears, our failures, and our relentless desire to push beyond the limits of nature. Each year, Ockoberstein invites me once more into the laboratory, into the storm, into the graveyard of ideas, to watch the lightning spark and to ask whether this spark is a gift, a curse, or both at once. I like to write like this because I feel like the world's just gotten too flat and literal. Everything has to be quick, clear, efficient, and honestly, that's boring to me. I want my words to creak like old floorboards, to smell faintly of dust and ozone. Writing like this, all the drama, the candlelight, the thunder, it's kind of my rebellion against the plain and the forgettable. Okay, so that's how it's pretty much looking right now. And I'm really enjoying this actually. I feel like I'm writing my own book, which is quite nice, I've got to admit. So let's do our first daily entry for the month of October, shall we? So usually on the first of the month, I like to do like a hello September, or in September's case, hello autumn, and then just write my expectations or a little poem or this, that and the other. So I'll probably do the same as well for October, but I need to bear in mind I only have this space, not all of this space. Telling you it's difficult. Do I want to write in black? Or do we want this nice midnight? Or even the green? Let's do black, and then I think maybe going throughout I might change up the colours for each day to give it a little bit more difference. So let me get my another little stencil that I quite like. Don't know why, but I like to give my daily entries sort of like a title. So I'm going to call this one Fragments. Let's be a little bit poetic, a little bit limericky. Yeah, I think I'll use some more of these as well. Okay, so that is the setup for October. See how it works. It was a little strange sort of squishing things in there, and also I was really thinking about stop being too descriptive, and you know, you've only got this little block to fill in. So we'll see how we go for the rest of the month with that, but I quite like it, but I'm wondering if it's going to be too much, but we'll see. We shall see how it goes. But I'm definitely loving this. I'm absolutely can't wait to start writing some more bits, because I've already started rereading Frankenstein, and I've already got so many thoughts that I want to write about. So yeah. And of course our calendar spread. As well. So yeah, I think I'll keep him just the other side of the calendar, as the weekly should be anyway. It might stick out too much actually. I don't know, it's fine when the book's closed. But yeah, let me know as well if you guys are excited for the new Frankenstein movie or the new illustrated book by Mia Lymph, which is they tend to do the Harry Potter series. I know they stopped doing it controversially for some reason, but she's now going back to the classics, and Frankenstein is up there. So I'm excited for that book. Unfortunately, it's not out until the end of the month, slightly annoyingly, but we'll see how we go. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments below, as always, your thoughts. I'd love to know. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.